to hear people are literally having 100-year plans, um, and thinking it through just that strategically and being that intentional about it. I mean, you're making decisions today for people that are going to be in your lineage that you'll never meet. So there's nothing wrong with just reaching out to multiple lenders at any given time. You don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. And then, with some banks, you can tap out or cap out, in terms of just how much they can lend you. Banks have a cap on how much they can lend one entity or one sponsor, making sure that there's more Black appraisers in the industry, because there is a bias there. I've known people to, like hide their pictures in their houses, so that they can get a higher appraised value. And it's the unfortunate truth.
This is the Commercial Builders Network, where trust is restored, power is reclaimed, and legacy is built. Let's get to work. Hey, KB, how are you doing today?
Doing great, Tanisha. Good to be with you. It's a little hot in Atlanta, but we're gonna make it through. So good to see you.
I wish I was down there because it just hit a cold front here that came out of nowhere. It is in the
Oh,
70s.
we can flip flop for sure. I'll take the cold any day. I'm ready for the fall. I'm ready for football season.
Oh, now that's different. Now that's different. Mhm. Well, please introduce yourself to the guest today. Tell us who you are and what are you known for?
And what do I know?
What are you known for?
Oh, what am I known for? Okay. Yeah, again, KB Yabuku. I am originally from Detroit, Michigan, born in Detroit, raised in Atlanta, grew up in College Park and all around the city. And I am known for commercial real estate. So I am a bit of a generalist in a sense. I've kind of worked on various parts of the commercial real estate industry, going back from my internship. And so I sort of just kind of cast a wide net in the industry, and I just allow people to really reach out to me for all facets of the industry. And if I don't know it, I know someone that does. And so I sort of kind of fashion myself as a bit of a connector in the industry.
Awesome, awesome. And yeah, you do have an extensive history inside of the commercial real estate industry, which is very impressive. Can you tell us how you got started, and like what made you like go into the industry of commercial real estate?
Yeah, no, good question. I'll take you back to college, I guess. I mean, I started out, as a marketing major. I ended up going to, initially started out at Savannah State University down in Savannah. And, and so didn't really know what I was going to do, but I just picked marketing as a major. Boomerang, the Eddie Murphy movie was a big movie at that time, or kind of growing up. And, I saw Eddie Murphy's character Marcus. He was a pretty suave dude. He got ladies. He was extremely professional and good at his job and marketing. And so I picked marketing as a major. I didn't know what I was going to do. I thought I was going to the NBA if you would have asked me back then.
All right.
And so fast forward, I transferred to Georgia State back home, and one semester I picked an elective. It's a real estate market analysis elective. And my professor was this guy named Mr. David Haddow, who's a big consultant here in the city. And at the time, that particular semester, I was pledging a fraternity and just had a lot going on. Just had a lot on my plate, not getting a lot of sleep. And so I figured I'd take this one elective and I'd hide out in the back of the class and take a nap. And Mr. Haddow had different plans for me. He called me out, woke me up, and called me front and center, made me kind of switch positions with somebody that was sitting front and center. And he made me sit there for the rest of that semester. But what I found out was, I was naturally interested and drawn to the real estate industry. That following semester, I changed my major from marketing to real estate. And at the time, I didn't really have any connections in the real estate industry, except for through a good friend of mine that I went to middle school with. His uncle was the chief diversity officer, this guy by the name of Ron Whitley. He was a chief diversity officer at a company called Cushman and Wakefield. He was out of the Chicago office. I was down in Atlanta. He said, "Hey, if you need an internship, which I did at the time, I could get you in. Now we've already placed all of the interns for this season, but I can get you in on the back end. Now they're getting paid, but you're not going to get paid." And so I said, "Hey, I just want the experience." I had a couple of part-time jobs already, so I didn't really need the money. I was just really more interested in getting the experience and the relationships. So I took that internship back in 2005 at Cushman and Wakefield, literally 20 years ago. And from there, they wanted me to. There was an opportunity for me to work in their New Jersey office after that internship was up, but I wanted to stay in Atlanta. I ended up actually that professor David Haddow gave me a list of names of people to talk to in the commercial real estate industry. And so I talked to basically all the major firms, and I ended up at a company called Staubach. It was started by a 70s quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys, Roger Staubach. And so I ended up working there, here out of their Atlanta office. And we later got acquired by Jones Lang LaSalle kind of early on in my career. So I ended up at Jones Lang LaSalle to start out doing office tenant representation at that time. So this is again back in 2005, 2006. So that's how
So
I got in.
you got started during the crash? I mean, you got started prior to the crash, the 2008 crash. So how did that affect the commercial real estate market and you entering into the industry?
Good question. Yeah, good question. Yeah, you caught that timeline. When I first got in, I was probably extremely naive and overly confident, and I was having some early success. 2006, 2007, and yeah, 2008 hit. And so I was really just questioning all of my life choices at that up until that point. It's like, who majors in real estate in college, and why did I go into real estate? I mean, the deals had dried up, and I was a relatively young broker, so it wasn't like I had a ton of value to offer some of the more seasoned brokers in the office. And so, yeah, that was leading into my first layoff in the industry in 2009. I was halfway through an MBA program at UGA, and so I was kind of faced like, hey, do I finish with school, finish my MBA? Do I, just pick it up at a later date and figure out how to, what to do, and pivot from real estate? I ended up meeting someone who introduced me to a company called BB&T. One of my classmates at the time was working at BB&T, and so there was a training program out in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and it was a 10-month program. So the deal was, you go out to Winston-Salem for 10 months. They train you on every aspect of banking. And so for me, it was a good time, number one, to get a salary coming from nothing and coming from, 100% commission. And so, but it also enabled me to kind of learn a different part of the industry. I eventually finished that training program, came back to Atlanta, and ended up landing in their commercial real estate group, where I worked as an underwriter, and worked as a relationship manager, and kind of learned the business from the lending side. We were doing a bunch of construction loans at the time, so yeah, that's kind of how I survived just that downturn, and really just got more education, and it really ended up working out in my favor, because I feel like I really needed that experience to learn the numbers side of commercial real estate industry.
So that kind of goes into my next question, which is how did you go from underwriting to investment sales to client strategies? Like, how do all of those roles connect and your matriculation through that?
Yeah, I mean, I think they connect in a lot of different ways. I mean, number one, real estate is just, it's all about relationships. I don't care what part of the industry you're in. I mean, you can be an accountant, and just kind of at your desk all day. I still value relationships, and I still think if you understand the importance of relationships and how to build relationships, no matter what role you're in, I think you're going to be better off in your career. Um, the connection, for me is really like that experience on the banking side, learning how to underwrite deals, learning how to see the deals from my client's perspective. It's made me a much better broker today. Just having a better understanding of the numbers and profitability and debt service coverage ratio and just all these things that come into play when you're analyzing a deal and seeing if it's a viable deal or not. It kind of sets me apart from, again, just a lot of other brokers in the industry. But yeah, I'd say, relationships, the numbers being the key. If I could do it over again, I probably would have started off on the lending side or started off doing something with the numbers, and then I would have transitioned to the brokerage side. But everybody's journey is a little bit differently, and that's just kind of how mine's played out.
Relationships are really, really critical. I know, especially in the commercial real estate game. For me, you said that you had got the information from a classmate. Now, I went to Howard, the Howard University, but one of one of my biggest regrets is that I didn't network enough in college. Like I spent a lot of time in internships and stuff like that, but I try to keep my head down and like I couldn't afford school, so it was like I got to get this right the first time. So I focused so much on like working that I didn't like build relationships and actually, so that's an eye-opening thing for me is that you were able to take that relationship and have it pretty
Yeah,
much kick off your career.
one last thing, I'll say just that connects those roles. And I think this is true again, it goes back to just relationships and selling. So when I was in banking, I basically I'm underwriting the deals and I'm on the sales side of the bank. So, you've got two sides of the bank effectively. The sales side, your goal and your job is to get loans out, to get money out, to meet those production goals. On the other side of the bank is the credit side where, their job is to protect the bank's money, basically protect their assets at all costs. And so they're a little bit more conservative. On the sell side, obviously, we're a little bit more aggressive. We think every deal is a good deal, and so it kind of balances out. It's a check and balance. But so we really had to make sure our credit package was tight before we sent it over to credit and understood the deal inside and out. But we basically had to sell internally to credit to say, hey, this is a good deal. Can you please approve this deal so I can hit my numbers? And we really believed it was a good deal. So that's the sales piece on the banking side that I had to do. And then, fast forward to now on the brokerage side, I'm selling property, I'm selling services. So the sales piece is something that is a through line through all those roles throughout my career. And then I also worked in development for a brief stint as well. So, but yeah.
So can you share with that credit package that you were creating to sell for those months? What does that look like, and what are some nuggets that you can give for people who are looking to establish that?
Yeah, I mean, it really, I mean, you really have to understand sort of, I'll say this again, going back to the relationship piece. You want to reach out to a lender and form a relationship well before you have a deal on the table. Those relationships really do matter. I mean, we've got certain internal guidelines at a bank that you kind of have to abide by and check certain boxes, sure, but these are people at the end of the day. And at the end of the day, if your deal is sort of borderline, I mean, I've seen people get deals done that have strong relationships with lenders because they just had a good relationship and it was kind of a borderline deal that could have went either way. And I've seen people not get deals approved because they did not have that same relationship with those real people that are underwriting the deals and approving those deals internally at a bank. So yeah, form those relationships early, well before you have a deal. And then that way, you can kind of educate yourself on what they look for. One of the big things that we looked for at that time was just to make sure the deal cash flow. These are investment deals, obviously. And so for us, the metric at the time, and this is 100 years ago, the debt service coverage ratio had to be at least, 1.25, so 125. Um, I don't know what it is now. We use debt yield. That was another one as well that we use. So to make sure the deal cash flow, but the entire package needs to come together. You had to have a strong sponsor team. So, you want to make sure you've got good partners with a strong background and just really, just kind of play up the story, how you guys connected, what's your background, what expertise you're bringing to the table. That's more of the intangible stuff, but obviously the deal has to pencil out at the end of the day. But you have to show that you've done your homework on the market, depending on what type of deal it was. I mean, back then I was doing a lot of multifamily deals.
Mhm.
Now I'm doing more office, industrial, and retail deals. But just have a good understanding of what the bank has an appetite for at that time. A lot of banks now are starting to kind of pull back on multifamily. A lot of banks are pulling back from office. Let's say that right now. So it'd be a tough
Office.
time to get an office loan
Okay.
in this market unless it's just super, unless there's a really good story behind it. So just having an idea of what banks have an appetite for what types of deals on the front end.
That's a good nugget. I know you were saying that you need to form a relationship well before you actually need the loan. What does that look like? Because my thought, I don't want to waste their time. Like, what does that look like? How do you reach out to them? Like, hey, I think one day I might like what step in your process? Like, how close to is it just a simple interest, or what is it that we should be looking at when it comes to building that relationship?
You're saying like how soon in advance should you reach out to
Yeah,
a lender? I mean, like today,
today.
like yesterday, I mean, it really. I mean, here's the thing: you want to have relationships with multiple lenders anyway.
Mhm.
So there's no, I mean, there's nothing wrong with just reaching out to multiple lenders at any given time. Most of my clients, had different relationships with other banks. They were cheating on me or whatever, and that's just par for the course. I mean, you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. And then, with some banks, you can tap out or cap out. Um, in terms of just how much they can lend you. Banks have a cap on how much they can lend one entity or one sponsor. And so, if you want to do more than that, then you've got to, broaden your network of lenders to be able to get more deals done anyway. So yeah, the sooner the better. There's really, no time. I mean, and just I mean, I'm somebody that will just reach out on LinkedIn or hell on Facebook. I think I don't we got connected on what IG or LinkedIn. I can't remember, but I think you might have reached out. But however, I mean, it's just that. I mean, these are just people. It's just relationships, and to me, that's just. I mean, if anything else, I've learned throughout my career and just throughout my life is just, the importance of relationships. That's just, that's going to be a common theme with anything that you hear me talk about is just the value of just forming good relationships with good people. And the lender, I mean, that's just one part of the equation for a deal. I mean, you need an entire team. You need a good appraiser. You need a good, engineer. You need a good, whoever you need good partners, number one.
You do.
And I think that's a lot of the biggest misconceptions when it comes to commercial real estate is, I mean, there's very few times that somebody's, just doing a deal by themselves as a single sponsor. I mean, typically, you're partnering up with a couple folks to be able to execute on the deal.
This is kinda off topic, but on it's something you said that kinda triggers something. You said a good appraiser, right? How does that work on the commercial side? Because I know when had sold my house, I had got it appraised, and I've had brokers who are investors run the same numbers I ran, and they appraised it for $10,000 less than what it was actually worth. And that tends to happen in our community where our properties don't appraise for the same amount. Is that something that's simpler that happens on the commercial side as well, or is that different?
When you're running through a bank, running a deal through a bank, typically it's the bank that's picking the appraiser. I mean, and I think they have to have. There's a pool that they have to. There's a blind pool that they have to choose from. But your point about properties owned by us that are getting a lesser value. that's a common thing in the industry in general. And I'm blanking on the brother's name now, but there's not a lot of black appraisers in the market. There's just not.
I'm looking
And
for it
oh
right
man, that's
now.
dude's gonna kill me. I need to think of his name, but I'll send it to you. There's a guy that's working on just that initiative. That's I mean that's what he focuses on day in and day out, is making sure that there's more black appraisers in the industry, because there is a bias there. And they've done the studies, and I mean you see it play it out time and time again. It's more so on the residential side, I would say, but yeah, I've known people to, like, hide their pictures in their houses, so that they can get a higher appraised value. And it's the unfortunate truth. And it's just what it is. But I think you see that lesser on the commercial side, just because it's a business, it's a commercial piece of property. Oftentimes they don't really know who owns it. Oftentimes, it's some sort of business entity that owns it, a REIT or something like that, and there's not really the personal kind of connection. So that personal bias, situation is probably happens a little less.
On the institutional level, commercial real estate has a tendency to be underrepresented by us. How have you been moving, and how is it for you as a Black man in this space?
You said, how have I been moving?
Yeah, how have you been moving through this? And because you've been through so many different facets of the industry, how has it been moving through them?
I mean, at times, I mean, it can feel isolating at times. In my office, I mean, I'm one of two black brokers, out of, I don't know, we probably got 60 plus brokers or something like that. And that's been the case when I was at Starbucks. I was the only black broker there at that time. JLL, I was one of a few. And so that is just, unfortunately been, my experience. And honestly, on the brokerage side specifically, I really hadn't, this is my 20th year in the business. I really hadn't seen the numbers on the brokerage side get much better.
Mhm.
So that is, something that I've tried to just personally, deal with by, just trying to recruit as much as I can, people that look like me, that are competent enough to do the job and kind of have the skill set. It's just often challenging in a lot of cases, because I mean it's when you get in this business on the brokerage side, I mean it's 100% commission. And so, and it normally takes a couple of years to get going, to really get a good stride where, you can kind of be self-sustained and build a pipeline that's sustainable enough to keep you going. I've seen people do it in a couple of years. I've seen people, take up to 5 years to get over that hump. And so, I try my best to just mentor where I can, people that are kind of newer in the industry, and just try to just educate them on some potential pitfalls, that they can avoid, that I kind of had to go through early on in my career, to avoid those. So, but yeah, it can be isolating, but here in Atlanta, I will say, I mean, we do have a pretty good close knit community, of guys and girls that have been in the industry for a while, and some newer to the industry. And we just kind of lock arms, and just try to support one another as best we can. I know you had interviewed Amber, recently, and she's a part of that community. Keith Mack, Quinn Green. These are some names that, are in
Oh,
Atlanta that have been around for a while, and we all just kind of, just support each other where we can, and try to make a difference, and try to, change the industry, and help, others that look like us get in the industry, so that it can be more diverse, and just represented by us.
awesome. So what are some nuggets? I know you're gonna say relationships. So,
you you getting it. You getting it.
but what is a couple nuggets for a person that's just jumping into the industry of things they need to do? Um, Maybe even have a savings on the side or something like to keep them going.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's specifically, and that's just specifically the brokers, because I mean, it is, I mean, you're 1099, you're your own business. You got to figure it out. I tell people all the time, look, if you can get on a team, preferably if you can get on a team that's going to pay you a salary, even if it's, not a great salary, to just learn and get the at bats and get the reps. And at the same time, while you're building your business, that's generally the best way to kind of transition in the brokerage. Either that, or like I said before, like, if I could do mine over again, I would start off in banking or start off something with numbers. And a lot of these brokerage teams have an analyst on their team that's kind of helping crunch the numbers, underwrite the deals on the front end. And so that makes it easier. Number one, you're adding value to that team day one. And then, you're not starving. I mean, you're not having the pressure of having to produce new business day one, because it's damn near impossible unless, there is a lot of nepotism in the industry. And, so you might be kind of in one of those connected families that's a real estate family for generations back. And you already know who you need to know, but that's typically not our story. Sometimes, but not in most cases. And so, get in a role where you can add value. Again, if you're crunching numbers and you're strong with numbers, and pretty dangerous with an Excel sheet or Argus, um, add value to a team that way, get a salary while you're kind of building your business over the next, couple of years. Or add value by just giving time back to some of the senior brokers. I mean, hey, if there's a deal up in Alpharetta and there's a tour at 5 o'clock on a Friday, and that guy's out playing golf, offer up your services to go show that space for him. And then, that way, again, you can just add some value by giving him that time back. And then again, you're kind of learning as you go. And again, you just don't have that pressure of having to produce day one. So yeah, I mean, that's the biggest nugget I would say. And again, if I could do my career over again, that's how I would do it.
Trust happens to
I'll
be
try.
a big challenge for us, when it comes to, joining the commercial real estate or investing in this space. How do we overcome that?
You mean trust within our community, or you saying trust just?
A trust to in our community being able to get in and to do business inside of the commercial real estate space.
Yeah, I mean, I would just say seek someone out again. This is another relationship plug, but seek someone out that's already doing it, or somebody that's already done it. And that way, somebody with a track record where you can say, hey, I've seen what you're doing. This is possible. Can I invest alongside you? And then that way you can kind of learn it from somebody that's already done it and doing it. Once you kind of get a couple of JV situations going like that, I mean, I think, you can kind of branch out on your own. But again, generally speaking, I mean, this is a business where most people partner up anyway. And so, partnership is going to be key, in finding good partners, good trustworthy partners is key. And that's not easy. I mean, that is, I mean, that's any relationship in life, right? I mean,
That was
finding.
literally gonna be my next question, is, like, how do you know that they actually do what they say? Because a lot of talkers, especially Atlanta, boy, it's a lot of smooth talkers out there. I would say they did one deal or JV'd on one deal, now they're a coach.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. And look, I'll say most of those people, look, aren't even from here. So I don't know. I'm not claiming those people, most of them.
Okay, okay.
Um, but I
So how
know
do
who
you
you.
vet a person out properly when it comes to finding an investment partner?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I mean, you do have to do your own due diligence and research. Um,
Run a
you
background
know,
check?
I, for instance, I know of a guy who was investing here in Atlanta some years back, and got a lot of other people to invest with him. And I had a couple people call me and say, "Hey, do you know this guy? Should I invest with him?" Um, and I just had to say, look, I don't know him. I said, I've been in this business for a long time in this city, and I know a lot of people that have been in this business for a long time. And I can't vouch for the guy. none of my circle can vouch for the guy, but I'm not gonna tell you not to invest. Just do your due diligence. So, I mean, we've got. I mean, I don't know when you grew up, but when I grew up, it was before the interwebs. Like we. I mean, to me, you have access to all the things that you need access to be able to like smoke somebody out and smell BS when I think it's just. Sometimes when things are too good to be true, I mean, sometimes they are. A lot of times they are.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to this business. So if somebody's offering you, 30% returns in a week, like, nah, that's not this game. I mean, this is a long game. This is a legacy game. It's not a get rich quick, kind of situation. I mean, um, through the pandemic, everybody was doing the PPP loans and the SUSUs and I mean, I made some quick money off of a susu.
Then
Um,
I
but
was I just missed it. I was
the 4X, the
Yeah,
XX, whatever. I mean, look, that's all that stuff is good and fine and dandy. I'm not knocking it. I don't know enough about it, but real estate is just it's not that. It's not a get rich quick industry. So if somebody's kind of selling that, to me that's a red flag. But yeah, if you can't Google someone's resume in terms of the deals that they've done or have some kind of track record and you can't find it, that's probably, not the person you want to invest with, at least on the first deal.
yeah, yeah. I learned that the hard way. I guess 20% in a month is too good to be true too, huh? Because
I mean, look, there are some cases where I mean, I've done some investments where I was able to, it was a unique situation, but I mean, those situations aren't day to day,
yeah,
and so if somebody's selling you those type of returns and they can do it all day, every day, twice on Sunday, I mean, that's something you might want to, do some extra due diligence and some prayer and and just
that's
listen to your gut. I mean, at the end of the day, we're a spiritual people. Like we can feel when something's off. Just listen to your gut.
yeah, that was my problem is I wasn't in prayer during the time. That's my biggest regret. I was like, "What happened to God during this time? I was on a sabbatical." And okay,
You should have called me. I would have told you.
I would have known. Awesome, awesome. Okay, so I'm being scammed in this industry myself. What are some things that you feel like, and I feel like we've kind of touched base on it, but as a new investor or developer, what are some things that you think that you absolutely need to check your references, dot your I's before getting involved?
Yeah, I mean, it really is more what we just said. I mean, it really is getting an understanding of the people behind this investment. The end of the day, I mean, you want to underwrite the deal and make sure the deal works and pencils out. And that's why I stress the importance of just having a clear understanding of the numbers for yourself and not just kind of depending on someone else to kind of tell you what the numbers are, what the numbers should be. You need to be kind of underwriting that deal. And if you don't have the expertise, reach out to someone who does. I mean, I've got people in my network that can, I mean, I can underwrite a deal and look at it pretty quickly and say, I know the questions to ask. And if
Mm.
if if that those sponsors can't answer those questions with some clarity, and some definity, then to me that's a red flag. But again, beyond the deal, just understanding who the people are because I mean, deals can go sideways. I mean, I mean, there's no guarantees in real estate. It's not a sure shot industry where you're going to win on every deal. In fact, if you're in it long enough, you're going to take some L's. I mean, that's just the nature of it. Hopefully you just get more W's than L's, but yeah, if you do this long enough, every deal isn't going to work out at the end of the day. Now, if it's just something based on the economy or something else that's out of your control or out of their control, then, that is what it is. Move on to the next deal. But if it's something dealing with mismanagement on their part, then, and when things go sideways, people can get, people's morality kind of comes out. And so that's why you want to know kind of who you're getting in bed with. And again, at the bank, one of the 5 C's is character, that we use in our underwriting, and it was, we looked at the credit score and all of that, and but it really was character to see kind of who are you really getting in bed with, and if things go left, for whatever reason, whether it's in their control or out, like how are they going to honor, paying this money back, or are they going to honor it? Are they honorable people? And again, that's something that I think we're divinely connected, and I think we know that, just kind of innately.
So I know earlier you were saying that some of the banks are not really wanting to bring or provide funding for office spaces, but I see these suites popping up everywhere, right? Like when it comes to these different waves, when it comes to commercial real estate, if you feel like you missed a boat, what are some opportunities that you think are more lucrative right now that people should be investing in?
I always tell people, especially like first time investors, like, you can look into investing through a REIT, a real estate investment trust. And to me, that, I mean, it's extremely passive. There's not much for you to do. It's like investing in a stock, basically. But you're investing in most cases, um, a conglomerate of a portfolio of different properties, depending on the property type and the REIT type. Like Simon is who owns Lenox Mall and Phipps
Mm.
Plaza Mall in Atlanta. I mean, they've got a REIT. That's a REIT, and they own malls all across the country, all across the world. If you feel good about when you walk inside a mall, if you feel good about what you see, then and it's something you can participate in from that perspective, then and you feel like it's a good investment, it's just like Apple or, Coca-Cola or whatever stocks that feel confident these companies are going to be around for the next 100 years, then you should probably make that investment. Again, it's not a get rich quick thing, but it's something that you can, kind of invest in for a steady return as you kind of learn the industry and learn the business. And it's going to cause you to pay more attention when you're shopping at a mall. And if there's trash I mean, because technically you're part owner in that mall if you invest in that REIT. So that's one way to do it. If you like to kind of roll your sleeves up and do something riskier where you can kind of get your hands a little dirty. One asset class I'm seeing now is like self storages. I'm seeing self
Yeah,
storages be
I
pretty
know.
hot where, you are effectively going to some of these tertiary markets, some of these smaller towns. A lot of the people that own those self storages and had them for a while, I mean, they're dying off and selling them off. The kids probably don't want them,
Yeah.
and you're kind of coming in and improving the management and the operations and coming in with updated technology to make it kind of run autonomously,
Mhm.
and kind of getting your value add that way. And so I like self storage. I mean, it's kind of tough to not tough. It's just it's not as efficient to scale. I mean, you're literally knocking on doors and some of these small towns, but once you find one, I mean, those are the ones that I see where you have really good returns, in a lot of cases. But again, it just depends on where you strike your deal and where you buy and how low that basis is. But yeah, I like self storage. I like flex. And I think industrial still hanging on. Um, Data centers, I mean, that's a little tougher to get into. But data centers are pretty good, even though some cities are starting to push back on those right now. But yeah, those are some of the more like ancillary property types that I'm seeing some pretty good returns on right now.
Awesome, awesome. So you work in acquisitions, disposition, the brokerage, underwriting, you name it. What do you feel as if inside of the game that minorities are overlooking that is like an opportunity they should be going after?
Um, I mean, I would say, I would say like some of these tertiary markets. I mean, just in general. I think a lot of times we are looking for something that's, shiny and, something that is, kind of in the news and in the know. But I think, oftentimes I'll just drive through, like I drove a couple of years ago through,
Can I cut you off real quick? You said an SAT word I didn't know the meaning of, so can you explain what tertiary means? Like, I don't know what I'm using my context clues, I feel like it's safe or like
Yeah, no, that's a good question. So tertiary markets, I mean, it's basically like smaller, like second tier markets. So I was gonna say, like, I went to Huntsville, Alabama a couple years ago, and that would be considered, a tertiary market relative to like an Atlanta. And man, when I tell you, like, there was so much activity going on in Huntsville that, yeah, I was almost too late. I mean, basically, I was out there looking for some deals for a client of mine, and we were able to find I was looking for, like, single tenant net lease retail vacant property, to be able to backfill with the restaurant, basically. And so there was a lot of deals out there, but a lot of opportunities, and a lot of times when you go to these smaller markets, you've got people that have been in these markets for years, just like, whatever market you're in. Sometimes it's hard for you to see the value in a piece of property because you're so close to it. Um, it's you can remember when Joe Blow got shot there back in 1989, and so in your mind it's like, man, that property isn't worth,
right.
but for somebody that's coming from out of town, that's just really just focused on the numbers and the return or potential return. It's easier sometimes for them to see the value in that property or that deal. So I would say, yeah, just I would say get outside of your comfort zone, get outside of your own market, and see what's in some of these smaller markets that are around you if you're in a major market. And because a lot of times people that are there, they don't see the value in it. And if you underwrite the deal and it makes sense, and if you've got, try to form some relationships there with the city or whoever you need to, so that you're not missing something. But a lot of times I've seen people just go out of town and really capitalize in some of these smaller markets because typically speaking, you're gonna have a lower basis, an acre in Atlanta versus an acre in, um, Huntsville, Alabama, or Montgomery, Alabama. I mean, it's probably going to be half the price. And assuming you can generate a good deal and some profit there, I mean, to me, you're already ahead of the game because you came in at such a lower basis. So yeah, that's what I would say where a lot of the opportunities are is just in markets that are outside of your own.
And it's interesting you say that because when I was in Atlanta, I first got started on the residential side. I ended up getting my license. I wish I didn't because I it made me afraid because I was like, I'm held responsible for this license now. So I was wholesaling, trying to wholesaling in Atlanta ain't no joke. Like them people out there play. So I went to Augusta, right?
There you go.
Oh, man, I was knocking on doors. I know the director of the land bank in Augusta because I was knocking on doors. I looked on LinkedIn. I started going down there. Most of those people are black. I knocked on doors. I'm looking for so and so. Tell them Tanisha's here. They were like, "You got an appointment? No, just tell them I'm here." And sure enough, I was meeting people. I was getting property under contract for like three. I had this one lady was giving me her property for 3 grand, two properties. I try to bring it back to Atlanta, nobody would touch it. Nobody. The numbers sound okay. Do you know 2 years later, after I pulled out and was like, "I'm done," everybody from Atlanta was there. I was hot. I was like, those same properties, I was like, I should have just stuck with it. It's like one day, 'cause I didn't have the money to pay for it myself. Like, pretty young in my 20s, like, I didn't have it, so, yeah, that hurt my feelings, but so
Yeah,
I
sometimes just being persistent and because I mean, just knocking on doors out there is different from knocking on doors in Atlanta. I mean, you
oh,
you
yeah,
don't know what, somebody might come, you don't know what people are
yeah,
coming to the
I'm
door
not
with in
I'm not
Atlanta.
lost. Mm,
But
yeah,
people are just more trusting in some of these smaller towns.
yep,
That's what
and
I've
they would let
seen.
me inside, trying to save my soul, ask me what church I was going to. Yeah, so I completely I love Augusta. I really do. I love the people there. It's good. So yeah, small town feel, I'm definitely there
Oh
for
yeah,
it.
and they got the masters too. There's some money in Augusta. Don't be fooled.
Absolutely. Oh, and the reason why I was talking to them was because that was when they were talking about, I think they closed one of the base there was doing all the cybersecurity,
Oh yeah,
and with the Augusta University was doing they were doing like cross training between the two.
gotcha.
So they were like that whole highway was supposed to be, bringing in people, and it's been a lot of work that's been done there. I haven't been in a few years, but they were moving.
Yeah,
So
this is a good market.
yeah. All right. What does legacy mean to you, and how has that shaped your trajectory through this industry?
Legacy, I feel like, yeah, people are throwing that word out, but for me, it really is a quick story. There's a guy, there's a family here in Atlanta, called the Selick family. And it's an old Atlanta real estate family with just a deep legacy. They own, a lot of Midtown. They own a lot of just very prestigious real estate throughout the city. And I was on a bus tour recently with one of the elders, Steve Selick. Um, I don't Steve, he's got to be in his 80s at this point. Maybe I don't know. He's got to be at least in his 80s, but I had a few minutes with him and I asked him, I said, hey, how's your family get into real estate? And when did y'all start buying real estate? And I mean, without batting an eye, I mean, he was like, yeah, we started buying about 100 years ago. And, and I was like, it's like, wait a minute, you can't just say that and just go on and continue the conversation. Cause I was just stuck on the 100-year piece.
Yeah.
And to me, it just said to me, like, I mean, a lot of times in our community, I mean, we're focused on our generation. We're focused on us. We're focused on maybe our kids, maybe our grandkids. And a lot of times we're not thinking beyond that. To me, I mean, to hear people are literally having 100-year plans, um, and thinking it through just that strategically and being that intentional about it. I mean, you're making decisions today for people that are going to be in your lineage that you'll never meet. To me, I think that's where, we need to kind of shift our mentality. And it's kind of the way I'm starting to think now. It's just like, and I don't even have kids yet, but whoever is going to be in my lineage 100 years from now, I'll never meet them, but I want them to benefit from the decisions that I'm making today. And so, that's certainly one piece in terms of just my lineage, but beyond that, I want to leave this industry more diverse and with more Black people than when I got into it in 2005. And so I'm doing everything that I can do personally, and forming certain groups to make sure that people that are newer to the industry have certain avenues of mentorship to kind of be able to sustain and stay in the industry. And so, from a recruiting perspective and everything else, I mean, I feel obligated to, again, just make sure that I do my part. And again, it's a collective. I mean, it's here in Atlanta, there is a collective. It's me. It's, like I said, Quinn Green. It's Keith Mack. Um, it's a long list of people that kind of have the same mindset, and we're just being intentional about, okay, this is somebody that's serious about the business. They have the potential. Let's get them on their way. Let's introduce them to the collective, and let's put them in front of the right people, depending on what it is that they want to do. There's so much you can do in the industry, whether you go the corporate real estate route, whether you go brokerage, development, you name it, lending. There's so many different routes you can go, but whatever your expertise is or whatever your interest is, I mean, we want to make sure that you get on your way. So yeah, that's what legacy means to me. Again, just making sure I'm making decisions now for 100 years out for my family, and then more immediately, like how can I help recruit people and get people in the industry that look like us, and get them on their way as well.
Awesome. How do we support you in your vision?
Um, that's a good question. I didn't anticipate that one. I mean, I would just say, look, if you're interested in commercial real estate, reach out, and whether that be from you want to work in the industry in any of those capacities, or if you want to invest in the industry. But again, supporting my vision just means, again, just making the industry more black and brown than when I got into it. And so if do your part. I mean, like, there's a lot of people, there's people in the industry that don't have that mindset, and they're just kind of out for self, and that's, whatever. I mean, this is a capitalistic industry and capitalistic, system we have here in America. But I just think that we have a greater calling, and so do what you can to make sure you're doing the same in recruiting and helping people along the way and mentoring those and coaching those up, that need it, because at the end of the day, I think we're just all stronger as a collective. So,
I love that. Where do we find you at since they can reach out? How do people get in touch with you?
um, either on LinkedIn, it's just KB Yabuka, YABUKU. On Instagram, it's CRE, as in commercial real estate underscore chronicles. Um, I think that's, all my social media stuff is CRE underscore chronicles. And then LinkedIn is a good place to catch me as well. Again, it's just KB Yabuka, YABUKU.
Thank you so much, KB, for your time.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I enjoyed it. Thanks for your flexibility. You got to make sure that you reach out the next time you're down in Atlanta. Looking forward to catching up.
Will do. Will do.